So my name is Matthias Leanza. I'm a sociologist based at the University of Basel, Switzerland, and I'm currently immersed in my second book project, which delves into the German colonial empire in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. So at its core, my research endeavors to answer a pivotal question, namely, in what sense is the nation state as a political institution a legacy of colonialism rather than its negation? And the motivating assumption behind this question really is that colonialism had a profound impact on the emergence and development, evolution of the modern world, not only with respect to capitalism as a global economic system, but also with respect to the nation state as a core institution of the international system. So when regarded as Weberian ideal types, the nation state seems to represent almost the antithesis to empire and to colonialism, and there's certainly some truth to that. But as soon as we move from the level of political morphology to the level of historical morphogenesis, the relationship between these two political forms of empire and nation state becomes much more complex and intricate. So, using the example of German colonialism, my study explores the repercussions that overseas expansion had in the political systems of the metropoles. And specifically, what I aim to show is that the German colonial empire in Africa and the Pacific really helped consolidate the emergent German nation state. And it did so by fueling processes of state centralization and by bringing questions, issues of national identity into sharper focus, thus creating a counterweight to the country's pronounced federalism with its marked regional identities. And from a systematic point of view, I'm particularly interested in the causal mechanisms that drove this process. So how can we explain in systematic terms that empire building overseas in faraway lands, as it were, had a lasting impact or left a lasting imprint on the political systems of the metropoles? As far as I can see, existing scholarship has primarily focused on the mechanisms of othering and transfer. Othering pertains to the ways in which notions of the colonized as quote-unquote alien and inferior helped shape the collective identity of the colonizers, while in transfer processes the colonies basically became testing grounds or laboratories for administrative and military innovations that could then subsequently be adopted in the metropoles. And even though I found plenty of evidence in my own research for both of these mechanisms, my main focus is on another mechanism that I would like to introduce in the study of colonialism, namely the mechanism of challenge and response. And in the present context, this term refers to the response by the metropoles to the challenges associated with colonial expansion and governance, resulting in lasting structural change. To name just a few, these responses range from the expansion of the Kaiser's constitutional powers to the gradual enlargement of the federal administration in Germany, to the more assertive approach of the Reichstag, the parliament, vis-à-vis the Reich leadership, the German government. Yeah, so there are really two core motivations driving this project, both of which I think tie neatly into the concept of global disconnect. So first of all, my project emphasizes the significance of causal mechanisms, notably the mechanism of challenge and response, in understanding processes of global disconnection, meaning that the responses by the metropoles to the challenges associated with colonial expansion and governance could have qualities that make them seem disconnected to the colonial sphere, even though they were not. So what my project basically does is to invite us to consider or maybe reconsider the nation state as such a disconnective response to colonialism, a response that is causally linked, causally connected to colonialism, even though it appears to be not. Secondly, on a related note, I would also like to invite us to reflect upon how we usually think about colonial legacies. Because when considering the legacies of empire and colonialism, we tend to focus on those aspects that seem to be directly linked to the colonial past, such as global inequalities and racism. And even though I, of course, share the concerns associated with that, I would still like us to extend our understanding of colonial legacies to also include those aspects of the past that, at least at first glance, seem somewhat unrelated, somewhat removed from colonialism, such as the nation state. And in this sense, I would like to propose a disconnective understanding of the legacies of empire and colonialism.